Hi, and welcome to 647, 6 stories for 7 a.m. because there's a famine of truth in our land. And this is your quick news fix, and the truth starts now. And you can't fool me. It is Glide Slope Thursday, right? And in the spirit of Bernie Sanders, I've become a wuss. I'm wearing my worker shirt constantly because it's insulated and it's 40 degrees down here. I used to live in the Berkshires, 40 degrees. I'd be out in shorts and a t-shirt and sandals, right? Now I'm wearing what I would have considered outdoor gear inside in Florida. 40 degrees, right? It's pitiful. All right, talking about pitiful. First story, Trump says he's ending the penny. And the last penny got minted today in Philly with Scott Bessent there to witness. Trump says it was costing too much money to make pennies and that this will save the country $56 million to stop making them. So you can still use them, but there's not going to be any new ones made. Why would that be? Because the penny was costing 4 cents to make. So the last time a coin was discontinued in the United States was in 1854. The half cent was discontinued. So billions of pennies are still in circulation. And you know what? This is all about digital money, ultimately, because the nickel costs 14 cents to make. The dime costs 6 cents. The quarter costs 15 cents. So I'm going to tell you right now that I think by the end of the 2028 election, we're not going to be using any of this money that we used to. It's all going to be digital. I know that's a little startling, but what can I tell you? I can only tell you what the aggregate of information is pointing at. So you're going to be Christmas shopping with your digital money after the 2028 election. Okay, take two. Attorney General Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel have produced to Congress a new cache of documents showing how Bill and Hillary Clinton's foundation collected donations from foreign and domestic interests seeking influence, raising fresh concerns that such evidence was kept from federal prosecutors who tried to investigate pay-to-play allegations against the former First Family a decade ago. That's right. This is such old news. A decade ago, these clowns had $500 million in their foundation, right? None of them worked. It's unbelievable. Even their daughter, they all need to go to jail. There's no other way to put it. So officials told Just the News that the documents were transmitted to the Senate Judiciary Committee in recent days and detail numerous instances of foreign and even a U.S. defense contractor seeking to curry favor with the Clintons through donations to their family charity, including when Hillary served as Secretary of State. Including when? That was the heyday. Bill was the bag man. She was negotiating the deals, posing as Secretary of State, and he was going and giving a speech and taking this load as a speech fee, right? They thought they'd never get nailed. They're going to get nailed. All right. The officials said some of the evidence was flagged by whistleblowers who claimed such evidence was kept from corruption investigation that was being conducted in 2015 by the Little Rock, Arkansas U.S. Attorney's Office before it was shut down by the Obama administration, Justice Department. See how it goes? They shut it down. There's no follow-up. They think that they've cleaned up the back end on everything. The documents will make clear that there was an effort to obstruct legitimate inquiries into the foundation by blocking real investigation by line-level FBI agents and DOJ field prosecutors and keeping them from following the money. Officials said that they have been gathering the evidence for weeks and have dubbed the documents the Clinton corruption files. Sounds good. Bondi and Patel hope to make the documents public by as soon as the end of this week, once they work through some issues protecting whistleblower identities. I guess because people tend to die around the Clintons. You can believe it or not, but there's sustainable truth in all that. Okay, take three. The Senate. I taped this thing on Wednesday night. I've been watching the live vote on the clean CR, right? What a bunch of drama queens. What a bunch of lying bastards. One after another, they get up, and it's so awful to see the reality of how we're represented in government. It is such a grift. The whole thing is a grift. So I'm watching the voting process, which was just an awful look and listen to a bunch of bloviating blowhards blaming one another, right? But one thing they can't run from, this was the Schumer shutdown, and it was all politics at its most venal. So Dems are going to the podium and running nonstop fear porn about starving kids and unaffordable Obamacare, which the government should be supplementing. And then Republicans get up and they appear feckless while owning all the facts. They have all the facts. They have all the truth. But the optics of too many slow-talking old white guys is not compelling. And it's going to be a problem in the next elections. The Senate passed a continuing resolution, the CR, to reopen the government Monday. Okay, that's in committee. That was 8-4. That's what set off all the Mamdani warlocks all over the country, right? That their party that represents them folded. That's how they see it. The vote ends a disastrous shutdown for Democrats, but the civil war for the soul and direction of the party is just beginning. And wow, is that true? Okay, senators reached a time agreement Monday evening, blah, blah, blah. So they come back on Wednesday. It's their first day back at work in 49 days, right? What a job. Talk, 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 stuff your pockets with money, smile for the camera. I couldn't do it. So, look, they're going to pass the thing tonight. The money's going to start to flow tonight. People who have been harmed by this will experience relief this week. And this thing is only a fix till the end of January. So then we're going to go through more of it again. But here's my overview on what's really going on. That's just the distraction. What's really going on is that the Dems are a party that eats their own, right? I call them the cannabis cannibals. Okay, so they're building the Chuck Fumer barbecue as we speak. Okay, it was the Schumer shutdown for 49 days, and now he must be sacrificed. They always eat their own. So once the cannabis cannibals have dined on Chucky until he is no more, they will move to their next Kabuki theater. And here's what it is: Bernie's Red Revolution. Commie is the new meme of moment. It's Bernie's Red Reprobate Revolution, actually. And here's my prediction. Bernie's going to run this thing, and AOC is going to be their candidate for president in 2028. And Gavin, he wants to be president because he's all ego and nothing else. But I don't think they're even so broken-minded to put that cat out front. He has too much destruction in his wake. But they could make him VP because there are different ways to be VP. I think JD has found a great way to be, but they'll just let Vance be a photo op guy, or not Vance, Slick, right? Gavin Newsom, I call him Slick. So Slick looks good. AOC looks good. Slick can talk. AOC, you know what? Don't be dumb about AOC. She is not stupid, okay? And she will rise to a very scripted occasion. And she can discipline herself when the stakes are high and the money's going to be fat. She gets very serious. And the camera loves this girl. So she will be a force to be reckoned with. And if Slick won't play, then they'll put Hakeem Obama Zero Jeffries up there, and she won't ever have to worry about an et tu brute moment. You know what I'm talking about? All right, that's enough on these people. It's all negative. Take 4. It's not getting any brighter here either. Ted Cruz impeached the judge who's been spying on GOP lawmakers' phones, right? 8 of them in the Senate had all their phone records and everything. I mean, texts, everything that they did, emails, all of it taken illegally by the Biden DOJ, the Biden DOJ. Senator Ted Cruz has called on the House to impeach U.S. District Court Judge James Boasberg for helping the FBI obtain the phone records of Republican lawmakers during the Biden administration. So I hope you get the judo of this. The legacy media is every time they pursue one of these felons, they say, Trump's seeking retribution. He's an out-of-control dictator. So now the Dems have given these 8 senators a perfect reason to say, this isn't about Trump. This is about you did something absolutely unlawful to us, and we're going to pursue it. In a blistering attack at a news conference this week covering the latest revelations about the Bureau's so-called Arctic frost probe, the Texas senator went after the Washington, D.C. chief judge and 2011 Obama appointee, asking, who is Boasberg? Boasberg is that radical leftist judge who is out of control. Cruz mentioned recent revelations that the FBI reportedly targeted Republican lawmakers' personal phones for tolling data as part of Arctic frost. That data showed when and to whom calls were made in the days on and around January 6th, the U.S. Fedsurrection Capitol riot. Arctic frost formed the basis of special counsel Jack Smith's elector case against President Donald Trump, who he alleged was trying to overturn the 2020 election. Cruz did not mince words when he took the lectern. Arctic frost is Joe Biden's Watergate, Cruz said. Merrick Garland was a fundamentally corrupt attorney general. Jack Smith was a fundamentally corrupt prosecutor. He's not done. This was political enemies list from the beginning. 197 subpoenas for 430 Republican entities and individuals. That is an absolute and egregious abuse of power. I don't often agree with Teddy, but he's spot on here because he was wrong. And he's a Yale School lawyer, so he can talk the talk. All right, take 5. Obamacare was never the Affordable Care Act. That's why they named it that. It was always a money grab. How does it work? Well, you charge too much, the insurance companies, so that they have a big pool of money and they become the donors to the Democrats. It's what all of these things become. All of it is always a money grab. And who gets nailed? not just the middle class. There's all kinds of Americans who are affected by this. And it stunk to high heaven from day one. Okay, when Barry the Fairy got up there and said, if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. Smug, smarmy jerk. Lying, just absolutely lying. It was all a money grab and has been from the beginning. The 42-day federal shutdown forced by Democrats thrust the economics of Obamacare into the limelight. This is what Democrats were holding out for. They wanted massive subsidies to go to Obamacare so that they could say to people who are getting their, I mean, it's horrible what's happening after the first of the year. But people's premiums are doubling and tripling. Sick people, right? It's just awful. And so Democrats want the government to throw tons of money at that until people can barely afford it. And then that tons of money makes a giant pool for the insurers, who are the villains in all this, along with their Democratic partners. It all is to create these slush funds to pay for the rent-a-riots. So not just rent-a-riots, it's, you know, even Bernie's got, the great communist has 3 palatial homes. I mean, get out of here. So it put Obamacare in the limelight and exposed an uncomfortable truth. An insurance industry whose executives are increasingly liberal donors has seen its earnings soar with the injection of taxpayer-funded subsidies that propped up Barack Obama's signature health program from collapse. The nation's largest health insurance companies have seen good business, this is understated, since Obamacare was first passed in 2010. Fully implemented in 2014. This has come in no small part because of federal government subsidies. It's every time the Democrats do something, it has to be massively subsidized because they don't have an idea that has ever worked anywhere in the world. That's why I don't understand how they keep selling socialism and communism to all these young people. And these young people are spending the first 30 years of their lives in schools getting PhDs, right? So they can act with authority. You have all that time to study every government in the world, even that China. Communism doesn't work. They can barely control this incredibly massive amount of billions of unhappy people in enslavement. That can't last forever. And that is not a functional alternative. It's enslavement. And it's always the elites who are promoting this crap, who have everything. And they love, you know what? It's just never been done correctly. I'll be at the top. And then it will be wonderful. Man, I have another story. You're going to hear about that. All right, so the nation's largest health insurance companies have seen good business. I said that before. This has come in no small part because of federal subsidies to the insurance industry, which government estimates show totaled $1.8 trillion in 2023 alone. Almost $2 trillion. Supplement, because that's how off the whole thing is. And they sold it to us that way. They knew it wasn't going to work. Those subsidies were greatly expanded by the Biden administration during COVID-19, the pandemic, as an emergency measure, but Democrats have fought to keep them permanent. Of course they do. Anytime anything gets increased or expanded, it's a lock. It's never going back, okay? So just the news analysis of public financial records from 4 of the nation's largest health insurance companies found that net earnings ballooned about 216% from 2010 to 2024. United Health Group in particular, which dominates the industry with a market share of around 15%, saw the largest explosion of profits. The other 3 companies, Elevance, Centene, and Cigna, also experienced a marked growth in net earnings after the implementation of Obamacare. So Obamacare comes, and these companies are all absolutely full with cash. This is a huge opportunity for Republicans, okay? This is an opportunity for them to solve this in a way that is not about filling your pockets with cash, but is about actually helping your constituents. And it should be done in a way that promotes healthy behavior, i.e., if you're taking care of yourself, eating right, exercising, and doing the things that allow you to not have to go to the doctor so often, you should be rewarded for that. And if you refuse to do that, and you're morbidly obese, and you continue all of the lifestyle choices that do that, well, then you pay more for that irresponsibility. And tough if you don't like it. Republicans could be heroes, but you know what? None of them have the guts to do this. They don't have the guts. They can't weather the storm from the Dems, who will be screaming the entire time, oh my God, they're taking away our health care. We're all going to die. That's what they do. That's what the legacy media does. Just tell them to shut up. All right, take 6. This is an arms study. What can I tell you? This is an extension of the Bernie red reprobate revolution. Just 2 days after socialist Zoran the Magnificent Mamdani won the election for mayor of New York City, the City Council of Upstate Ithaca, New York, elected an actual member of the Communist Party USA to the Ithaca Common Council. I just want to inject something here, right? Because in the emergency management field, we have something called cascading events, right? When a disaster happens, there are cascading events in all directions. And you have to figure them out and how you're going to mitigate it. Well, guess what? I can't figure it out. I'm trying to form a nonprofit, right? Because there's people that want to help with this effort financially, but they want to write it off. I get it. And I'm on like 5 attorney calls now. You want to know why nobody gets back to me and nobody can offer me anything in 2025? 5? Right, I was going to say 4. Because of Zoran the Magnificent. There is such an exodus that they're all doing real estate transactions and they can't keep up with them. They're talking about having 3 and 4 closings a day. Okay? That's not the norm down here. And it hasn't been the norm down here for about 7 or 8 months. But this is the power of bad ideas. And Florida's not the first pick. Okay? The first pick's Connecticut. You know what's been going on in Connecticut for the last 4 months? They've been bidding up on houses 6 figures over ask. That's how panicked New Yorkers are to get out of there, but to stay in a blue environment. Then they were all waiting nervously on the sidelines to see whether or not that Democrat, Mikey Sherrill, the lying veteran, will be elected in New Jersey. As soon as she was elected, bang, they hit that state. And guess what? Florida's not their third choice. They're looking at Texas more than Florida because Florida's looking red. DeSantis is looking Trumpian. And Texas is looking purple turning blue. Abbott is a simp. He's not going to do anything. He just wants to be in that position. And the influx of goofballs from California, Texas is toast. That's it. So that's their third pick. Florida's their fourth pick, and I can't get an attorney who can give me any mind space to even discuss this with me because they're all doing real estate transactions. And I don't care. That's all boilerplate, you know. I get it. They're making money. It's the time. You make hay when the sun shines, right? I get it. I don't have to like it. I get it, Mom Donnie. You're affecting my life now, and I moved out of that hellhole 1,000 miles south, and the effect is still rippling all the way down here. Cascading events. But I digress. Okay, so what is this story about? It's about Hannah Schvetz, right? Sounds like a good Catholic girl, doesn't it? 20 years old, a Cornell University sophomore and student organizer, of course, defeated the independent candidate and former Democrat primary hopeful G.P. Zarenda after winning the endorsement of the Ithaca branch of the Democrat Socialists of America and the Ithaca Tenants Union. You love all this stuff? These are all affluent brats from all over the country, right? My dad went here on a football scholarship. He wouldn't recognize this place. And it's beautiful up there. That's the other thing about the blue people. They pick the prettiest spots and then they ruin them with all these horrible ideas. So here's Hannah, right? A good Jewish girl. She's gone bad at college, right? But her parents can't say anything because she's a communist and their grandparents supported that. And even though they're all just making money hand over fist, whatever they're doing, Hannah hates Israel because you have to if you go to an Ivy now. You must hate Israel no matter if your name is Hannah Schvetz and you grew up Schvetz, right? Now she wants communism. And here's the thing that's so insane about this. There's not one thing that she wants that's ever worked anywhere in the world it's ever been tried. And guess what her first thing is out of the box? She wants a $25 minimum wage. $25 minimum wage. What do you think's going to happen, Hannah? In about 5 seconds, every one of these fast food restaurants is going to be total AI robots. Nobody's getting paid. All the people that those McDonald's jobs and things like that are their point of entry into the workforce, not to make $25 an hour, to make 15 or less, right? But they're learning how to show up on time, how to have a work schedule, how to deal with a boss, how to have responsibilities, and they slowly improve, and then they move up in the structure of that. They're learning how to be contributing employees. Not in Hannah's world. You're already do all that just by breathing. You just show up at the front door and stand there like a slug, and you should get 25 an hour because that's fair. Is it fair that everybody loses those jobs to robots because you forced the issue? What's an employer going to do? A Big Mac is now $32. Enjoy. Not going to do that. Robots are going to take care of it all. Good on you, Hannah. Way to think it through. These are reprobates. They can't think it through, okay? That's why you're a Jewish girl and you stand there and hate Israel. It's all this guilt about being affluent. It's all this guilt about having the easy street the whole time, right? We're going to see more of this. Way, way, way more of this. Mamdani is a harbinger of the future in America because we're all still too sheepily about all this nonsense and not putting our feet down. Foots down, feet down. That's it. You know what you have to do. I'm not even going to say it. You know all the things to do. We went over 500 on Getter. Guess what? Jess emails me and says, guess what? You're now in the Google search for Chuck Frank. You're the first Chuck Frank. I go, really? Because I couldn't believe there were all those Chuck Franks and I was last. Now I'm first. Guess what? If you go and click on Chuck Frank, it doesn't say anything about 647. It doesn't say anything about trust and obey. It's all that stuff I was doing in New York City. That's not helping me. You can help me and you know how, and I'm not going to say why. And I can help you and I know why every day and how to do it. I ask Jehovah, the God Almighty, to stretch out his hands over all of you. It's Glide Slope Thursday. What do you do on that? You know what you do. One notch of flaps. Push the yoke forward. get the nose to go a little bit down, and then you set it up to take you all the way through the weekend. But none of that happens unless the glorious God of the universe smiles on you, and I'm asking him, please, dear God, bless all these folks. God bless you, and thank you for listening.